what is it? 6:03. And first item on the agenda is public comment. Any public comments? Okay, any liaison comments?
And thank you for everything.
I just want to make sure you all know that the annual town meeting, well, you do know because it's happening to the firehouse, right? So this group knows, I'm just going to say as a reminder, June 2nd, 6:30 p.m. Social distancing will be enforced. Masking will be required. Check-in is 5:30 p.m.
Yeah, I don't know how many, I don't know if they knew about it yet, but
Oh,
I got
maybe
a
they don't know.
I got a call last week from Beth requesting if it was possible to use the fire station as a spot for the continuation of the annual town meeting due to the fact of we have great ventilation in the apparatus bay. We can open up the overhead doors.
Nice.
Wanted to, so it's a little, we just got to do some logistics on our end by moving the trucks outside and getting the floor clean. Public Works is going to be bringing the chairs over and setting those up inside at roughly 2:00 on that day. We're working on a sound system and hopefully once the meeting is over, then we'll bring cleaning people in and clean the bathrooms and the areas of the building we need to keep the firefighters safe.
Sean, thank you for that. I want to make sure, I mean, I sort of thought everybody did know because the notice has already gone out and been received, I think, by most of the households, that's where we're going to set up shop for purposes of the annual town meeting. Can I ask your recommendation on where you think members of the public who show up should park? You have a thought? Because obviously they can't park in the firehouse parking lot.
No,
because
so we're gonna open up some spots for handicap. So if you are
Right.
handicapped, or I don't know if we're gonna be able to fit everybody depending on who's comes, because I do need to leave the lot open for the guys to respond to
Right.
fire calls.
That's important to know.
I know Frank was working on it, but we were
Okay.
more leaning toward the fact of when we do trick or treat, where they can park at the library, they can park on Meeting House Lane at Town Hall and walk over, and there's going to be a cop.
Yeah, they're going to
go at the crosswalk to cross people. It's unsure. Usually when we do trick or treat, we usually shut the portion of the road down right in front of the old firehouse and at Meeting House Lane. So we have no issues about when it gets dark and people are crossing the road. I don't know if that's going to happen. I think that's more Frank's decision. And if we need more parking, I think they were going to reach out to Amity High School and see if they can park over there so they can walk over for the meeting.
I just want to also, as part of my report, I just want to encourage people to make sure that they read the notice that they got at their houses, because it's important to manage expectations of what actually happens at a town meeting. And I'd hate for people to come thinking that this is a intimate vote up or down on a full budget. That's not how what the charter calls for. It calls for a line by line analysis, assuming that there are 250 townspeople. Otherwise, it will follow the normal procedure of it going to the Board of Finance. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Chairman's report. I don't have anything except for relating to dispatch update. We can talk about that in executive session. COVID-19 update.
COVID-19 update. There's not much to discuss. People are getting vaccinated. We're still getting ones and twosies coming in. We had one, I think, the end of last week, but it's nowhere near what it used to be. So people are getting vaccinated. Plus, it's getting warmer. If we remember correctly, last year, we didn't see a big spike in the summertime with coming in late spring, early summer, just due to the fact of the warmer weather seems to help. People are outside. They're be able to social distance. So, but what we have seen is more and more people are going out without masks, and so we'll just keep an eye on it and see where it goes. I think the time to tell is really going to probably be in the fall, in the winter again, to see where it goes. But I don't anticipate seeing big numbers right now or anytime soon. So it's good.
Have you seen any numbers, Sean, for the town of Woodbridge? How many people are vaccinated?
I have not. I don't know if I actually don't know if we see those numbers, to be honest with you. I don't know what the percentage is.
Okay.
I know there was talk about it a couple months ago, and it was up in the air because I don't know if they could track who or where they were compared to the population on who got vaccinated and not. But probably be a question for Beth, who deals with QVHD, to see if that is a possibility. But I don't believe we have those.
Yeah, I would think just because the state has such detailed reporting about it that they would be able to break it down by town, but
You got to remember the state does their own thing. Then they have to forward it on to the local health department, and then the local health department forwards it on to their district. So if they have it, it just takes time to get, or they just didn't forward it. So who knows?
okay. Anything else on COVID-19 update or any questions?
We are still, just so everybody knows, even though all the guys here have gotten vaccinated, we still have William a few times a week. He uses that aero sprayer to go around the building and the actual apparatus itself, and sprays it down to kill whatever germs or whatever is breeding in any of that stuff. So for the most part, the firehouse and the apparatus is as clean as it's ever been. So we're in good
Sean,
shape.
do you see phasing that out?
Not anytime soon. We did on the cleaning. When we get to the budget line, you'll see it. We actually, we were having William 19 hours a week, and we were having Ercolano come in 2 days a week. I backed Ercolano back down to 1 day a week where we were before COVID.
Yeah.
But we still have William 19 hours a week, which I anticipate leaving that right now indefinitely without a date where that's going to end, because I still believe we need it. Because remember, we're still responding to incidents. We're still going into people's homes or car accidents where people may not have been vaccinated. And the worst thing we want to do is, we all got vaccinated. The majority of us did. But not necessarily our families have gotten all the vaccinations. So we don't want to take it home and get somebody sick there. So I see right now we're going to continue doing that.
Okay.
It's just more of a safety measure, and just to make sure we're doing everything we can to keep everybody safe at this point.
Yeah. I just think as we all sort of like get back to normal at our own pace, which I think is very important. I think there's two other things that are important, which are to follow the science and to, if you're going to keep precautions in place above and beyond, just to have a thought of like, what's going to be the milestone out, whatever it is, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days, that we can start, curtailing some of these extraordinary measures.
I think the cleaning part, we were a little struggling with it before, 1 day a week. So I think what we're doing now is not extravagant. I think the aeroclave machine, by aeroclaving the building, is a little extreme, but on the same token, even now in hindsight, when you look back, even before COVID, we went into people's homes that were sick, that had the flu, that had other issues going on. And it's a good way to keep the building clean, the apparatus clean from all that. So I don't think we're going to change that much on that end. But some of the other stuff we've relaxed on, where if we went into the home that was positive for COVID, we would be wearing a Tyvek suit, go on air. That all we've lifted that to a point where we're not dressing up in a Tyvek suit anymore to come into your home. So we've taken restrictions off, but we're still going to leave some on for the foreseeable future.
Is there anything, because, with my husband in the medical profession, it's kind of the other side of that coin where they've learned that all this time we've been not masked with patients. And granted, we didn't have COVID, but I'm sure we gave patients the flu and we gave patients colds, and patients who were compromised got sicker than they had to get because they came to the hospital or came to the doctor. So, I feel like a certain amount of PPE and precautions is going to remain in the medical profession, because they kind of realize, like, we were, that's doing harm, and we need to, if we can prevent doing harm, we need to prevent that. So is there anything like that you foresee lingering on, like your protection when you go into people's homes, or anything like that you are new procedures that you plan to adopt?
I haven't really given it a lot of thought right now about what the future is going to hold. What we're going to keep in place right now, we're going to definitely have face masks in place when we go into people's homes. Other than that, we're pretty good now. As long as we keep everything clean, I don't see us having very many issues here.
Okay.
And in the future, I don't know what we're going to change now. So we lifted a lot of restrictions, but we still have some on. So.
Okay. Anybody else have questions? Okay. Review current financial statements.
Right. So you guys should all have them in front of you. So when we go back and we look at this cleaning custodial, they moved money into that line at the beginning of the year, last year, to cover basically July through December 31, and that they approved money from January 1 to June 31. So if you look at those numbers, the new line this year is part-time maintenance, the 17,435. If you look for transfers and adjustments, that line is basically William 19 hours a week right now. And when you jump down to the cleaning custodial line at 10,560, that's what they increased the budget for the other day of Ercolano and cleaning supplies. So as you can see, we're already $921 in the hole, but with some of the other line items, line accounts, we'll do a line item transfer and we'll cover the overage there. But this is the first year we went over the budget in the cleaning line item based on COVID. So the other line to look at is repair maintenance machine. Right now we're $5,400 over from 75,000, which isn't horrible, because when you take, for instance, the last 3 years, just looking at last year, back in January of last year, we went back to the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, and we did a request of $30,000 to cover the overages in January. So we tried to keep that line as tight as we can. We still went over, but to go over by 5,400, we still have some bills out, but I'm hopeful that we're going to be able to cover it with some of the other line items in our budget that we can use to cover that overage. So we probably don't have to go back and ask for more money at a contingency. This is going to be the first year in probably 8 years that we don't have to do that, which is good.
Excellent.
The other line is, and we'll have to cover it, is communications telephone 54210. You'll see it over $5,400. We have a credit coming back. It's not going to be that high. We have some credits coming back, but that line is going to be going over. We got a new telephone system at the firehouse. We had an IP phone system before. This is IP, but this is internet based. So instead of using the old copper phone line that's in the road that really isn't isn't really reliable. So now this is voice over internet. So this is actually a little bit better. It costs us a little bit more, but once again, we should be able to cover it within our budget, so we won't be asking for more money.
Okay.
The radio line 54240 communication radio at 164,510. That number is the Motorola contract to keep up with the radio system. And part of that money is also the tower rental for the Seymour Tower, the EMAC rental. I think that's $13,000 a year, if I'm right. And that includes generator maintenance. That includes propane and gas at these sites for the generator. That includes electricity, the T1 lines, the fiber connections. All that stuff comes out of that line. We're showing a $7,700 overage there. That's going to be a little tricky to cover. I don't know if we're going to be able to cover the whole thing with our budget. I talked to Tony about it. We did have an issue, which we had to spend, I think it was $2,000, $2,200. We had a problem. Actually, we spent more than that. It cost us $2,200 to rectify the problem, but I think it costed us another $2,000 or $3,000 to fix it. The new generators at these sites, they weren't rodent proof. So we actually had mice get into it and eat the wiring out of one of the generators at the RWA site up on Rimmon Road. And we had to rewire that and fix that and then make the generators at these other sites rodent proof. So that's the majority for the overage going on there. And that was unforeseen. So right now there's steel wool and screening and other stuff that the rodents can't get in. They're usually like it in the wintertime where it's warm. They sneak in through the pipes, they build nests, they eat the wires, and it creates an issue for us. Going down, for some reason, water is a big thing for us. Not because we're fire, but for some reason this year, water, we're over budget on our water line, but we're over budget because of domestic water, not the water we use in the hydrants. Fire service charges, I'm not sure if they went up, but just so everybody's clear, with the hydrant line item and the water line item, more the hydrant, we pay for the fire service connections at not only the firehouse, we pay for it at the library, center building, public works. I think we pay for Beecher Road School. So we're paying for all the town buildings for these fire service charges, which adds up, and also with the hydrant usage, which we don't get billed for usage of the hydrant. We have to pay for access to the water in the street. So it's so much per mile. And that's how that number comes up with. And the last few years, the water company has seemed to go up on those numbers anywhere between 3 to 7% a year. So that's really out of our hands. We don't have a choice but to pay what they dictate to us so we have access to the water. Plus, if we break any hydrants, meaning if we have an accident, somebody runs over a hydrant, if the person stays on scene, we're able to go through their insurance and it fixes the hydrant. If they hit the hydrant and leave, or a snowplow clips it, the town is on the hook to pay for the hydrant, and that comes out of that line also. So if we were to fix one hydrant, we're basically over budget to begin with. If we have a heavy winter, like a blizzard or something, and the snowplow hits them, we could be in the area of $400 fix all the way up to a $7,000 fix on the hydrant. So it gets expensive really quick.
I have a question, Sean.
Sure.
Many years ago, at some meeting or other, I asked you, how many hydrants do we actually have? And I was flabbergasted at the number. Am I right if I remember 108?
We have 137 hydrants, I think.
At least I was in the order of magnitude.
Yeah.
I don't think most people realize that, and it's quite surprising, I think, it's a good thing to remind us of. Thank you.
So the more hydrants we have, the more water pipe we have, that number would actually go up. So that number did increase when they extended the water pipe for the animal shelter.
Mhm.
So just so everybody knows. That's about all I have on the budget, unless you guys have questions. Karen, are you talking? Because you're muted.
Sorry. Does not sound like we have any questions. So moving on to the fire chief's report.
Okay, so we talked about June 2nd is the annual town meeting at the firehouse. There's going to be a request coming, just so you guys know, to Tony. I talked to Tony about it. It's going to be for SCBA bottles. So I believe, and I don't have it in front of me, I think we have 12 45-minute bottles and 3 or 4 60-minute cylinders that are we have an issue with that we need to replace. So it's in the area of about a little over $18,000. So that's going to be coming up either sometime in June or the beginning part of July that we're going to need to fix. So he is aware of it, and he's going to work on some funding options to do that. So that's extremely important. That's something we're not going to be able to budget for and wait till next year. The other thing just to talk about that is come next year's budget when we do it, we're going to need to replace, I think it's 10 air packs that are dated. So when we purchased the original air packs back in 2000, I'd have to get the date, but they're 15 years at the end of this year, and they have to be replaced. They can't be fixed. They can't be recertified. We have to change them out. So we're going to be ended up replacing those next year. So we just got done paying for the 30 year packs that we just took in 4 years ago, and now the other set is up, but there's only 10. There's not 30. So it's going to be a lot less, but it's still going to be. It's still probably going to be close to $100,000. Another thing is, this past Saturday, we had a bunch of guys do a cleanup around the firehouse. We weeded, mulched, cleaned up around the building, did some power washing. The building definitely needed it. I mean, it's been a year and a half since we were really doing anything. So the guys did a great job. They were here all day Saturday. And the other thing I have is the WVFD. We had our elections, and Karen installed the new officers, which were myself again, Assistant Chief Ted Pokowitz, Captain Chris Risch, Lieutenant Anthony Baradeska, Lieutenant Nick Marcarelli, Lieutenant Sean Redmond, and Sergeant Andre Herrera. So if you guys want to take a motion at some point, Karen, to ratify the officers, that would be great.
Sure. Does anyone have any questions about it? All right, I would ask for a motion to ratify the officers as presented by Sean. And that's for a 1-year term?
I'm a 2-year term. The rest of them are 1 year.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Who was that who made the motion? Sorry.
It was me. I'm sorry, Stephanie.
Do we
Thank
have a second?
I'll second it.
Mike
Mike
Sufreen?
Sufreen. Yeah.
Any discussion?
I have discussion. I just want to say congratulations to everybody.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? All right, all in favor? Oh, go ahead, Steph.
No, I was going to say congratulations also to all of you, especially you, Sean.
You got the grand prize.
Yeah, that's grand prize.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries unanimously.
I got one more thing too. We are actually, when I get done with this meeting, I have another meeting I have to go to. We are in the process and we actually have a bid spec just about complete for the new engine 9. So it's a 180-page bid spec. So hopefully we're
Wow.
gonna settle it up in the next couple of weeks, go to the Board of Selectmen, and then hopefully to the Board of Finance, probably used in that same way we did with engine 3, which is the HGAC contract, the Houston Galveston contract. So we don't have to pay for the bidding and go through all that. It's already been bid out. It's like a state bid. So
You don't have, it's already,
it's
like
already been negotiated.
volume priced. Yeah.
Yeah, it's already been negotiated.
What's the cost?
I don't have the cost yet, Mike. I will know in probably an hour. But there's going to be some changes on the truck that we're going to do. So I don't have the number in front of me. I have no idea.
And you want to talk about the process after you submit the specs?
So hang on, the fire siren's going off. So once we have the specs finalized, we'll probably bring it to you guys next month. Let you guys take a look at them, vote on them, send it to the Board of Selectmen, and we'll start that process. And hopefully we'll go through the HGAC contract and get the number. And once we have that, we go to the Board of Finance for how to pay for this. Usually what will happen is the truck is at least a year build time. So even if we sign, say in July, right? So we sign this thing in July, we won't see the truck until at least next July, probably realistically next September. And then if we take the truck then we don't pay for it until usually we pay it in arrears. We won't pay for the first payment until the following September. So we're at least 2 years out before we would see a payment.
And that's all in our 5-year budgeted
6 year. Yep.
expense with the town, right?
Yep. What happens is the town doesn't necessarily fund the project now. So like, let's take engine 3, right? They didn't fund it, even though we signed off on it. They didn't fund it until the payment was due. So the first payment, I don't even know if they put in for this year's payment because it might not be due until the following year, into the next, the following fiscal year. So however Tony spreads it out is basically when they put it in. They don't necessarily just put it in. If we sign it in July, they don't put it in for this July or whenever. They'll put it in 2 years when the payment is due. Depends on how we finances it. Usually it's financed and it's paid in the rear. So if that's the case, we won't see a payment for 2 years. There'd be no reason to fund it this year and then fund it next year and then have one payment due the year after that. So all depends on how he wants to finance it.
Okay. Okay, was that the apparatus report also?
Yep.
Okay. And Scott, SCBA?
Those were the air bottles that were roughly $18,000, which will be going to Tony sometime next month.
Okay. All right. Looks like we're on to the activity report by Assistant Chief Potkowitz.
Ed, are you on? You're muted.
Sorry, thought I unmuted there. Yeah, for last month, for April, in 21, we did 35 calls, 281.94 hours, which brings us up to 125 calls for the year and 835.61 hours. Breakdown of that, we had 6 fires, 2 assist medical, 15, hazardous condition, no fires, usually like motor vehicle accidents run into that. Good intent calls is 4, and false alarms is 8 for the month.
Okay, and how does that total hours and the total calls compare? Looking at the last several years, that's down considerably, right?
Actually, for the full year, the hours are down, but for the number of calls, we're pretty much right on. You know what I mean? In 2020, it was 25 and 23 and 19 and 34 and 18 and 17. And we're running, the month we ran a little high on the numbers, but for the total year, we're actually below where we were in the past.
Yeah, that's what, Sean, we were up to like 500 range, right?
Yep, we were like 580 last year.
Yeah.
Remember, we had a big storm in August. We had a couple storms throughout the year. So those numbers most likely will go up. We're just coming into storm season. We got lucky this winter where we didn't have any major ice or big damage, but based on what we've had over the last 10 years, I would think we're going to have a decent storm, at least a windstorm.
Yeah, those numbers jump significantly in one storm. I mean, if you get 30, 40 calls, we got a lot of guys, those numbers jump big time, and that's what you see.
We have been seeing a lot of motor vehicle accidents lately over the last really couple months compared to last year. So I can tell you that motor vehicle accidents are up. And some of them are pretty good hits, actually. They're not really fender benders. They're actually pretty good hits.
So I just anecdotally, and we've talked about it several times on the meeting, it seems like during the pandemic, when there was less traffic, people are going a heck of a lot faster. Generally speaking, is that your sense of what's caused more traffic accidents, or do you have a sense of that? Or
I think there's definitely more people out on the road now than there were a year ago, based on the pandemic. I mean, but remember, we still have a lot of, even though traffic's up, I don't think traffic is up as where it was before COVID, because a lot of people are still working from home. And what I'm hearing is a lot of people are probably going to be working from home probably indefinitely, because companies are learning that it's cheaper to have you work at home, and you're actually more productive at home because you'll put longer hours in at the house than you would if you're in the office and you have to commute and then you come home for dinner. Most people are working, they go in, eat something, and they're going back and checking their email or doing some work at their home after the dinner. So who knows what's going to happen? People are going back. Do I think it's going to be 100%? Not for a long time, but we'll see.
well, my point was more that people were just driving faster during COVID. Is that just anecdotal, or have you seen any evidence of that? And then my follow-up question is there something we could do like on the emergency services level, if that's true, or if we have a sense that that's true, to just kind of like, have like a campaign to slow people back down in town, that's sort of like concerted and universal?
I can't tell you if people are driving faster because of that. That's more of a police question. And yeah, that's more of a law enforcement deal, not us. I mean, based on where our numbers are or were last year, when motor vehicle accidents were down farther than they were the year before, but there's no way to really tell. Just talking to a couple body shop guys, that the number traffic is still down on the roadways. So their business is down a little bit. So other than
Well, I know on the state level, I want to say sometime over the summer, they come out with a statistic that the number of motor vehicle accidents was a lot lower, but the number of fatalities was a lot higher. So I
don't have that information. I could try to get it for you.
That's
for
okay.
the next meeting.
That's just a thought. Okay, anything else on the assistant chief's report? Okay, thank you, Ted. Fire marshal's report.
Good evening.
do
54 inspections. I consulted 8 times, 13 plan reviews, 5 investigations. On the investigations, we were called to Greenwood and Baldwin. The fire was actually in Derby, so we took no action there. We had a false alarm. I investigated, and the person who blew up in the car on April 2nd, I actually interviewed. He came to the police station. We sat down and talked to him. He has no idea what happened. We were trying to find out, what happened. He has no idea. Excuse me. He has no idea. But he's walking. He's getting a prosthetic hand, and he's going to get a glass eye, is what he told us. All that's supposed to start next month. So he's alive.
Wow, what a crazy situation. All right, any other questions for Joe? I just have a question over here on Forest Glen and on the patch. There's a lot going on about the blasting and the vacant lot. I didn't know if you had any comments that you wanted to make relating to that, or
He's done.
perfect.
He ended Friday. I mean, he may have to come back for some small stuff once they get down into the foundation area, but for the most part, he's done.
Just
He
so
was moving his stuff out this morning.
Just so everybody knows, Joe was on scene for almost every single blast last week, and I was there for 2 or 3 of them. It really wasn't that bad, but Joe was on site for the majority of, I think all of them but 2 maybe. Is that correct, Joe?
Yeah.
So
He's below the state mandate, whatever the state regs are for vibration. Doing the rough numbers there. I'll get a copy of the consultant's report when it's complete. But just going over the rough numbers with him because of the phone calls and stuff, he's below what the state says is the maximum.
Okay.
Plus, Joe is also working on the tent with Amity. You want to go over that, Joe?
Oh, wait, I think Steph has a question going back to that for a
I
second.
just want to know, there was no damage to anyone's house, so as far as you know, right?
Yeah, I didn't even have a voicemail message on my phone this morning from anybody.
Okay, I didn't think there was, but
Yeah, I haven't heard anything.
yeah. Oh, good.
We're still working with Amity. I spoke to him today. We're set for the 2 proms. It's the play. He's got to get me some information. I spoke to him today, but that doesn't happen till the 14th. So we've got time. They're working on it. We're working with them. It'll come together.
What are they trying to do, Joe? Are they trying to have the play outside
In a tent in the backyard, yes.
on the grounds of the school?
Yes, in back of the school. The tent's going to be used for the junior prom, the senior prom, and the play is going to be in it for a couple of weeks.
Okay. Very good. All right. Anything else for Joe? Okay, we're going to skip executive session. Any correspondence? All right. Approval of the April meeting minutes. Has everybody had a chance to look them over? Okay, could I have a motion to approve the minutes of the April, let's see, the April 26, 2021 meeting?
I'll make a motion.
Who is that?
Mike
Mike.
Dufresne.
Mike Sufreen. Could I have a second?
I'll second. Stephanie?
Thank you, Steph. Any discussion? Any corrections? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, and our next meeting is scheduled for June 21st. Anyone have a problem with that?
Nope,
Okay.
No.
All right, and could I have a motion to go in executive session, inviting Chief Rowland in?
I'll make a motion to go to executive. executive session.
Okay, thank you, Mike. In a second.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion passes. Okay, we're in executive session. Thank you, everybody.